Hi, I'm George Febish, and we're going to talk today about how to visit Italy, what to do, what to see first. You cannot see all of Italy in one trip. In fact, if you're taking in the small little towns, you can't see it in a lifetime. But it is important to see the big cities, the Naples, the Rome, the Florence, the Venice, and the Milans. These are wonderful cities with wonderful museums, great world-class food, and for Milan, world-class fashion. It is the fashion capital of the world. So you want to plan out and go to these places and by all means see them. You can't even see all the major cities in one trip unless you're going to spend, several months or a year in Italy, and that's not a bad idea. Then you want to go to some of the medium-sized cities, and these are, the Sienas, the San Gimignano's, the Positano, the Capri, Sorrento. These kind of places are just wonderful little towns. The mountain towns in Tuscany, great places to enjoy your vacation, to get to see people, to get to try some wines, to try some food. I'm not a tour person. And those who follow my blog and vlog know this. I don't like tours, mainly because the big tours, when you get on a bus and there's 50, 60, 70 people on your tour, you can't go to some of the little interesting places. Your lunches, when they're organized, are going to be in places that have terrible food because Italian food isn't prepared for 70 people. That's why the trattorias, they're small. You go in, they make your food fresh, and it's wonderful. Now, some tours are realizing that people are changing and they don't like that. So they've organized their tours to be partially tour, to give you free days, to allow you to have free time to go to lunch, to go to dinner, and so on. And these are better. But I don't like tours also because when you're on a tour and you see something like, oh my God, look at that. I'd love to go over and spend some time. Can't do it. You just don't have the time on the tour. You are not in control, the tour operator is. When you're on your own, you can stop, be spontaneous, change your whole day and say, okay, I was going to go over here, but now I'm just going to stay here and spend a couple of hours. This is wonderful. Tours, there are other types of tours that are interesting for people. There's moped tours where you ride, a moped around a small group of people. There are walking tours where you can get in. These are a little bit better. They're smaller groups. They're taking you to see things. Inside of major attractions like the Vatican, there are tours. If you know nothing about the Vatican or what's inside of it, these can be useful because they'll give you an idea of what you're seeing and so on. But in general, tours aren't worth it. So why do so many people take tours? They're afraid of the language. They don't speak Italian, they don't speak French, they don't speak Portuguese, they don't speak Spanish. So they're afraid of the language of the country they're going to. And in most part, this is, bogus because most of these countries, a lot of the people will speak English. And in fact, I'm in a lot of countries where when the French come down and they're touring in Italy, they don't know Italian. They're not speaking Italian. They're speaking English because that's what the common language you can communicate. Now, one partial tour, which we do like, is the hop-on, hop-off buses. Some city, they're exorbitantly expensive, but in a lot of places, they're not so expensive. And we tend to buy a one-day pass. But every once in a while, we find that a city will give you like a 2-day pass for the price of 1 day. And it's a great thing. So we take the entire tour. If there's multiple buses, we take each of the buses. So we're seeing the whole city and everything that's there, making notes. Okay, we want to come back and see this. Then you go back on the original bus and you go to the first place that drew your attention. Get off, tour it, get back on the bus, go to the next place, and so on. You might need 2 days to do it. Some cities like Stockholm, they have a number of bus routes and boat routes. So, to see everything would take 2, maybe 3 days to go around. But they are a great way to move around. You can also use these buses for moving from point A to point B. When we were in Stockholm, Sweden, we used the hop-on, hop-off bus to tour the city. But we were taking a boat to Helsinki, a ship, and we got out of our hotel. We went down to where the bus was. We still had a day's pass, and we got on the bus with our suitcases, put them in an area they have for suitcases, and got off at the ship. So instead of buying a cab ride or taking the subway, in this case it was 2 subways and a bus, we took the one bus, got to do a retour of the city, and ended up where we wanted to. So you can do that as well. They have headphones, and the headphones are in many languages. So you get a pair for free when you get on. You plug them in, you look for, if you're listening in English, you find English on the dial, you dial it to that number, and you're hearing English, and you're getting a tour of the city. Now, we spoke about large and medium cities. One of my joys of life are the small cities, especially the little towns in Italy. Sometimes I'm driving from Rome down to the Amalfi Coast or south into southern Campania, and I'm on the A1, which basically goes from Rome down to Naples. And I'm looking on the left, and there's a very high mountain over there, and all of a sudden I see this little cool town. You can see a church steeple, you can see a bunch of buildings, and it's literally hung on the side of the mountain. So, get off at the next exit, bring out my iPhone, take a look at what that town is, plot a course to it, use my GPS to get up to that town, and spend some time up there. If it's a really, really tiny town, maybe it only takes an hour. Walk through, go to the bar, have a coffee, have a glass of wine, have lunch, have a gelato, talk to the people at the bar. And if it's a bigger place, maybe there's things worth seeing, like the church or a little museum. Some of these towns are wonderful experiences. And, sometimes the road's not for the faint at heart. You're going up a mountain road. Sometimes there's guardrails, sometimes there's not. But these are the type of places you can't see unless you rent a car and drive. A lot of these little mountain towns, the train doesn't get to them. You could take a train and then take a taxi and get up, but it's a lot of planning, and I just find I'm free. If I get into the town and there's really nothing there, get back in my car and go on to the next one. But these little towns are wonderful. They're just little gems to be discovered. Getting around from town to town, or if you're going to another country or coming from another country, flying's probably the easiest. Flying within the EU is, there's a lot of cheap options now. You have to be careful about what's included, because sometimes you get a really cheap fare, but when you add your suitcases and seat and all this other stuff, you end up paying more money. But that's the same as the States, and you just have to check these things out and understand what your real costs are going to be. There's also trains. Trains are a great way, especially in Italy, because they're inexpensive for getting around. You can go from city to city very quickly on their rapid trains. They go very fast. You can get something to eat on board, something to drink, coffee in the morning, breakfast, whatever. And just enjoy the ride, see the countryside you're going through. Some trains make some stops, and some trains, are more express and make very few stops. If you're going like from Venice to Rome or even Rome to Naples, the express trains are fast. From Rome to Naples, it's about an hour. But if you take the local, it could be 2 to 3 hours, and they may stop at every little town on the way. This gets tiresome. You also want to be careful because the locals trains typically don't have seats assigned. You don't get guaranteed a seat, you get guaranteed a ride on the train. When you get on board, if it's really, really crowded, you may stand because there's no seats. On the express trains, they're almost always a seat assigned, the train number assigned, and so on. And I have another video on it, but just to summarize it here, if you have a train number assigned and a seat number, you're on a particular train, you don't have to validate your ticket because it's only good on that train. If you're taking a local, you can really take any local. You can take the 12 o'clock, the 1 o'clock, the 1:30, the 2 o'clock, and so on. But they don't want you to take a train and then use your ticket to take another train and so on. So before you get on the first train, you have to validate your ticket, which says, I'm beginning my journey. And then the ticket's good for so many hours, and that's how they know. If you don't do this and you get caught on board with an unvalidated ticket, it's a hefty fine. You don't want to do this. In the movie Eat, Pray, Love, there was an Italian saying called dolce fa niente, the sweetness of doing nothing. And I try to impress upon people that read my blog that this is so important in Italy. You don't want to just run from museum to museum. You don't want to run from site to site all day long, be on a tour all day long. You want to be able to relax, do nothing, and enjoy it. This is discovering the pace, the love in Italy, and how the Italians live their life. If you live it their way, you'll create memories you'll never forget. If you run from thing to thing, all you're going to remember is the running around, the trains, the planes, your transportation. You're not going to have a really happy memory of your trip. And Italy is a wonderful place to go. So enjoy your trip. Look at my other vlogs, and we have things on cities and restaurants and things to do and how to do things and budgets and so on. So all the information you need is there. Enjoy it, have a great trip, and let us know how your trip went. Hi, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, hit like below, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the bell. Hitting the bell, you will guarantee that you'll be notified when new videos come out on my vlogs. Thank you. Ciao and arrivederci.